Hey Time Slicers, welcome to Slice Squad Spills. I'm your host, Nikki Wildflower. I went from a basement apartment to a multiple seven-figure empire. Now I'm here to share how you can do it too. Hey everybody, welcome back to Slice Squad Spills. It's Nikki Wildflower. I'm so excited to have you here. Today I have my co-host, Jackie, here with me, and we have another really special guest for you. So look at us. We have been bringing on more guests lately. I have been reaching out to people at least a week before and letting them know that we would like to have them on the podcast. And luckily, my friend who I got to know through one of our masterminds I think it was 2022, we met. Ryan and I were in the same mastermind for entrepreneurs, and Ryan is the founder of the Artful Dollar, and I'm so happy that you're here. And why don't you because one of the reasons I wanted to have you on here before you do a little intro is because I'm so obsessed with making people more money in less time so that they can have more financial freedom. And as good as I am at that, it's like, I can make you rich, but I can't. But then what? Well, I don't know what to do, because if you have the wrong spending habits, then I'm out. I got nothing. So that is where we bring in people like Ryan. So please go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yeah, thank you. My name is Ryan Roy. I am traditionally, I have a background in tattooing. So, the kind of an adjacent industry to hairstylists and that service industry where you can make a lot of money really fast, and you can, walk out with a knot in your pocket and feel like you're on top of the world. And then I don't know if maybe hairstylists do the same thing where you're like, oh yeah, that's $500. I could buy that. That's like 2 tattoos. That's like only 2 tattoos. I'll make that back easy. Oh, $1,000? That's like 4 tattoos. Like, you kind of think of buying things and like how many tattoos you'd have to do to get that back.
We do that too.
You do that too? Okay, cool.
I could do one extension application and make that back.
One extension. That's it. Easy. Boom. And then you do that. And then 5 years later, you're like, I have no money. And you're like, how is that possible? And so that's the problem that I was running into, that I looked around at the other tattooers and I just realized, if I keep doing what I'm doing, then in 10 years, I'll be in the exact same spot that I'm in right now. I will make more money, but I will not have any more money. And so, I think that's the difference. People get so focused on making more money, and our culture is so focused on how do I make more money. And I've worked with clients that are netting, not gross, net after expenses, $500,000 a year, $800,000 a year, $1 million a year and more, and they actually don't have money.
And they're broke. I know. What?
Yeah, we call that. That's there's a name for that. It's called a Henry. You ever heard of a Henry?
No, I've heard of a hemorrhoid.
High earner, not rich yet.
High earner, not rich yet. Oh, wow. Okay, so that's people who make the money but are not. They don't know what the hell. We see that all the time, because we'll skyrocket work with people, and we'll skyrocket their income. So let's say somebody was starting, they're making $1,000 a week. All of a sudden they're making $5,000 a week, sometimes even more than that. And then a year goes by and they're like, I'm still broke, but I bought myself a lot more stuff. And I'm like, that wasn't the purpose. This was supposed to create freedom for you.
Yeah, you see it a lot. It's that lifestyle creep, where, and a lot of what I've come to learn in my own practice, and now working with hundreds of clients all over the world. And we don't just work with tattooers. We've worked with hairstylists and all different kinds of, a lot of service industry, creative professionals. Your spending is really tied to your feelings, to how you feel. And so one of the problems I've come to realize is when you make more money, you feel like you have more money than you actually have. And so then you spend like you have more money than you actually have. And so one of the things that we do in the Artful Dollar course is I help people put systems in place to separate, clarify, and automate the management of their money. So first of all, it just takes it off your hands. So then you have more time and energy and money to put into your life, right? But the other thing that it does is it causes you to feel like you have less money than you actually have. And actually, a lot of the people I work with, I'll say everyone I work with, about a month or two into the course, they're like, Ryan, I feel broker than I've ever felt. And I have more money than I've ever had. And I say, yep, that's exactly what we want. Because if you continue to feel like you have more money than you actually have, you're going to continue to spend like that. And so we want to trick your mind into feeling like you have less money. And then you will not, because controlling your spending habits is not easy. But if we can trick your brain into feeling like you have less money than you actually have, it actually happens naturally.
It's that freaking dopamine hit, man. Like that spending the money. I get
online
it.
shopping at like
I
midnight
fall into it
on
sometimes
Amazon.
too.
Yeah,
but
me too.
I try like with the more money that I make, I try not to like proportionately spend more. I'm like, okay, I don't like, I'm chilling. What the hell am I gonna do more than
you
what
ever tell yourself, you're like, I don't need anything else. Like, I totally don't need anything else.
Yeah.
every day?
And then like 2 weeks later, you're like buying some $10,000 thing you don't need.
Yes, all the time.
Happens to me too. We can't actually, to a certain degree, you can like, okay, I'm going to be better. I'm going to be more disciplined. I'm going to do that. My approach is a little bit more like, I'd rather like hack the brain by creating circumstances where it's easier to do the things that I want you to do, and it's more difficult to do the things that I don't want you to do. And so that's like kind of natural human evolution, is we are designed to go with the path of least resistance. And so if we can put systems in place and shift your thinking and your perspective in such a way where it really just becomes harder to do the things that we don't want you to do and easier to do the things that we want you to do, that it happens naturally. That's my approach.
I love it. You're speaking our language, because we also work with people in adjacent industries as well. It's like the natural evolution of what we do, right? So we also work with people in adjacent industries, and we see the same thing. Like a lot of people who are in that creative industry, we have this ability. We're talented, we're creative, sometimes a little messy and offbeat, and we have this ability to just like make a lot of money fast. Like it's that instant gratification. And it's so funny because we're not taught. Well, it's not funny at all. It sucks. We're not taught. Like, what the hell are you supposed to do? What the hell are you supposed to do?
Not even a little funny.
It's not even a little funny. I'm not even smiling. What are you supposed to do?
Okay, so it's not funny, but it also kind of is funny.
It's a little funny.
It's a little funny. I like to make this comparison to like pretend everyone was given a violin. Okay, every person on the planet's given a violin, and no one teaches you how to play the violin. But they just expect you to go out and know how to play the violin. And so you go out with your violin, okay, and you're pretending like you know how to play the violin, right? And so is everyone else. They're all pretending like they know how to play the violin, and you don't want to let anyone know that you have no idea what the fuck you're doing. And so you're also like, you assume that everyone else knows what they're doing. So you're just going to kind of try to sort of do what maybe they're doing, kind of maybe, and also don't let anyone know that I have no idea what the fuck I'm doing. And not, it sounds horrible. I mean, it sounds like shit.
But it's true.
But no one's talking about it. And so now just replace the violin with money.
Right.
That's what is happening, essentially. And
I
so
always said, like, in high school, where do they teach you how to like what is an interest-free credit card? Like, I don't even think I even knew what credit was. They didn't teach you practically.
I thought it was free.
About the good and the bad of credit cards. Credit cards are like a power tool. You can do some incredible stuff if you know how to use a credit card, and you can hurt yourself really badly if you don't know what you're doing.
Now that I know and I understand like how to kind of like manipulate it to reap the rewards of having a credit card, it's life-changing. Like, nothing is not going on a credit card, and I pay it off at the end of every month. But in the past, when I was 22, I didn't know shit about shit. And, you know, I'm sure in 10 years, I'll say I still didn't know shit about shit now at the time that I'm filming this. And I love that. It's growth, whatever. But I got my first credit card. I think I was like 22. And I was just like, I did not understand how it worked at all. I was just like, oh, free money, pay later. And I dug myself. I didn't even ask anybody. I was just like, I have this credit card now.
It was
And
the violin.
I think,
You were
and
like,
I think
"Here
that
we go."
and I wasn't making shit for money either. So I'm like, so I maxed it out pretty much immediately. Like I went to Sephora and I just like tore it up. That dopamine, my ADHD wasn't treated at the time. And I got all this makeup and then I was like, oh, let me buy myself clothes. I got a whole new wardrobe. And next thing you know, that 5,000 is going up and up and up and up and up. And I can't hit my payments. And it was like a mess. And it took me years to get myself out of that debt. Just these are tools that we didn't learn.
Right.
Yeah, we didn't learn, and there really isn't. I'm a financial coach. That's what I do. Some people call it money coaching, financial coaching. I'm a teacher. Like a music teacher or something, right? I'm going to teach you how to use your tool, your instrument. That it hasn't really existed in the world of financial services for a very long time. You had CPAs, tax professionals, right? They'll tell you what to do, but you just like look at them like a deer in the headlights, like, okay, like you're confused. And I have talked to so many people that the accountants or tax professionals they're working with are shady people who are really screwing them over in the end. I really like be skeptical of your tax professional. Be skeptical of any professional you're working with. Even myself, I invite people like be skeptical of me. It's okay. I want you to really be thoughtful before you work with me or any financial professional. And then you have your tax professional. They're not helping you save and manage money properly. And then you have your financial advisor who, like, sure, if you have money, then they can help you manage and invest that money for the future. But if you don't know how to save 10 to 20% of your income, the financial advisor can't really help you. And so people get so obsessed with like, oh, what's my return? Oh, my return on Bitcoin was 400%, 400% return on $50. Who cares? I'd rather a 5% return on consistently saving $1,000 a month for the next 10 years than that one time that I saw a 400% return on a couple $100s.
Can I ask how you, so from tattooing, did you have a background in like finances or anything like that? Like what made you get into, well, I hear that you like saw the people around you and you're like, well, I don't want to do that. I don't want to stay in this same place. But what made you get into coaching in this financial capacity?
I was a tattoo artist. I started my own private small studio about 8 years ago. And then through learning about business, through using interest-free credit cards, I was able to expand my business, increase my income, and pay the debt back before incurring 1 penny of interest. So it's basically free money that I was given to grow my business and increase my income. It's awesome when you know what you're doing. But I didn't know what I was doing all the time, and I'm learning about taxes, and I'm like, well, this retirement thing. And so, being a business owner, being passionate about tattooing. I mean, I never thought I would be more passionate about anything the way I was about tattooing. And I do feel that way about money education now. But the goal was to do sick tats. That's it. That's the number one goal, is to do sick tats every day, all day, for as long as I can. But the amount of time and energy that I was like, the money thing, I need to figure it out. Like if I can figure out my taxes and how to do it properly and use QuickBooks and understand and reduce the stress there, then I'll have more time and energy to do sick tats. Okay, cool. Let's figure out the taxing. And then it's like, all right, but I will have to retire one day and no one's going to do it for me. No one's coming to save me. This isn't just going to figure itself out. And I know that I procrastinate and I put shit off next year. I'm like, okay, let's figure it out right now. Let's just do it. And somehow in my pursuit of doing sick tats all the time, every day, which was the goal, I somehow got redirected into becoming passionate about personal and business finance. It was this weird thing. And then all of a sudden I was like, I'd be tattooing and just talking about finances with all my clients and retirement accounts. And then I started weirdly, the universe, it just sends you, it's a reflection of who you are and what you're about. I started getting all these clients that worked in finance, hedge fund managers and people working at big banks and all this stuff. And it was like, oh, we're having these really fascinating conversations. And I kept thinking man, someone's got to do financial coaching for tattooers. Someone's got to help these people out because I don't know. I just recently figured out what I'm doing and I thought other people knew what they were doing, and I realized that they didn't. And so it was a nice idea, but I was never going to do it because one, I didn't have the time. I'm a busy tattoo artist. I'm like, I'm going to start a whole other business. And two, I did not want to be the tattoo money guy on Instagram. Like, no one wants to be that guy. Like, that's lame. That's like, people are going to judge that guy. People are going to think this guy's obsessed with money all the time. And they're going to, I didn't want to be that guy. And now that I kind of am like that, like I go to tattoo conventions, people are like, "Oh, you're the tattoo money guy, right?" I'm like, yeah. And I deal with the trolls and I deal with the judgment and all that stuff. And it's like, you know what? If that's the price I have to pay, if that's the burden I have to bear to make the impact in the world that I want to make, that I want to free people from the burden of money, I will gladly pay that price every day.
And that's a sick tat. Like, that's the same energy as a sick tat right there.
It is.
Amazing.
It's bold, it's self-expression, and it's not giving a flying fuck about what anyone has to say or think or do. It's like,
it's great.
This is what I'm about. This is what my life's purpose is about. And you can judge me. That's why I say, be skeptical of me. Judge me, think whatever you want to think, but I'm not going anywhere. I'm not stopping this. I'm changing people's lives. I've worked with hundreds of people.
He says, I'm not going no effing where.
Nowhere. Yeah.
I love
you
it.
You can't get rid of me,
energy.
bitch. Yeah. We actually have kind of similar stories. Like, I know that we have talked about that before. We've like met each other in person. Kind of like you, I just wanted to do hair. Like, and it's not a just, because it's a really fucking cool thing to do. And I was super passionate about it. Never felt that I would be passionate about educating or any more passionate about anything else than I am about doing hair. That was like my love, I just want to do sick highlights, right? All day. People were like, do you ever want to educate? They would say, do you want to open up a salon? And I'm like, fuck no. Just this. I'm good. Like, I want to keep growing, but like, I can just slay back here all day. And
I want to do 6 slices. Like
6 slices, yeah. But and then what ended up happening was I ended up solving problems for myself. Like the timing thing, I was able to solve that for myself and end up making a lot more money working less. So then I just started putting videos out there, not thinking that this is going to become like a big thing or anything like that. I wasn't even really thinking about that. And then next thing you know, people are like, wait, I want to learn. I need to know this. I have the same problems that you have. And this is just what transpired. And now I am more passionate about teaching other people and helping them grow their businesses than I am anything else. And one of the things that really stuck out to me about what you just said or what you said prior to that, was that you have to create things that are like second nature, that are easy, or you won't stick with the habit. And that's one of the things that we try to help people with too. I'm like, you're not going to overhaul your whole life and do all these difficult things every day and stick with them. It's not feasible. So how do you make it easy?
You could almost look, I heard someone say once, that making money is just solving problems. And so if you can solve a problem for someone better, cheaper, faster, or easier than they could solve it themselves, then you can make money doing it.
That's exactly it. We tell our clients that all the time too. I'm like, no problem, no business. Every business really theoretically should be solving a problem for somebody, whether that be I hate my hair and I want it to look better, whether it be,
I need a sick tat and
my arm is looking pretty naked right now and I can't make it happen for me.
I suddenly want a sick tat like today. Like I'm on my way to go get a sick tat. I'm
looking at your face right now and I'm like, I think that I want my face tattooed.
Oh yeah.
I want to be that mom.
I tattoo still like once every month or every other month. But it's very infrequent and like and when I do it, like I love it. Like it's just, I'm not doing it because I like need the money, or it's just like, this is just such a cool experience. It's the energy exchange. It's the connection with the people. It's the technical side. I love the technical aspect of the needles and the machines. And I geek out on all that stuff, And I just feel like I've gotten a whole different kind of relationship with tattooing now that it's not really my like full-time profession, but is something that I've been doing for 15 years and still feel like my soul, it's made its mark on my soul. And so I feel like the work that I'm doing now is my way of giving back to an industry that has given me a life beyond my wildest dreams.
I think that's really cool. Like we all do actually have creative trades. I'm a massage therapist by trade as well. And all of us now, it sounds like, are in a similar position where full time we're helping other people grow their businesses, etc. And then also do it like Nikki still does hair way less. It's not like your main gig.
Because I love
massage sometimes because I love it. And use tattoos still sometimes. And I remember being in full time, massage, and sometimes feeling like it was too much for me. You know what I mean? Like to do that full time. And there were moments where like my body was so tired and I'm like, I can't even imagine doing this for the rest of my life. And now I'm like, I never don't want to. I have my passion back for it because I get to do it part-time as well, like just because I love it, and it's like relit that spark inside of me. So I hear you on that. It feels like a sole purpose almost that I don't ever want to.
I feel like for any creative professional, I mean, you could say for anything, but you're going to burn out if you aren't balancing all these different areas of your life, finances being one of them, so if you're money's going out as fast as it's coming in, then you constantly feel this need to grind more, work 5, 6, 7 days a week. Sometimes there are seasons of your career, like in tattooing, there were seasons where that I loved tattooing 6, 7 days a week. Like that was like it, drawing, tattooing, but it wasn't sustainable forever. And then it was like, if I don't figure this out, I'm going to need to do this all the time. And it just, you can't sustain that for decades, And thinking about like, okay, there's holes in your bucket. So if you're constantly grinding and you feel like, oh man, I need to make more money. But if there's holes in the bucket, it's like you're trying to bail yourself out, and it just keeps, it's not going to get you where you want to go.
Right. I completely agree with that. I get it. I think that I somewhat know what I'm doing with money when it comes to, like, I will say that I have not really adjusted my lifestyle much. I only still always keep in my savings account. And this is just like what I know from reading books and stuff like that. So I want you to school us here today.
Yeah, school us, please.
Sure,
but I only keep like a year's worth of living expenses in a savings account, and everything else is just goes away. I don't see it. So like, I don't feel any differently about my finances than I did a year ago. You know what I mean? And I don't look at it. I really don't. Like every once, like it came in the mail the other day. I was like, oh, I didn't even realize I had all that.
Yeah.
But as far
First
as like
of all,
what
is that sitting in a high yield savings account?
No.
Where is it sitting?
It's literally just a savings account.
In a regular savings account.
What kind of interest rate are you getting on it?
It's nothing. It's literally
potato
nothing.
pancakes.
Oh my God, Nikki!
What? I'm wrong. I don't know.
Nikki,
me too.
High yield savings
help.
account. You put it in like a
Like
Capital
what?
One or Ally Bank high yield savings account. You can get 4.5% interest on it right now, guaranteed. And there's no risk. You're not. It's not investing it.
When did that happen?
Oh God.
Question without putting it without making it a CD, because our mom she's
so
got
CDs,
like some financial
CDs right
stuff.
now, like
CDs.
average CD is like 5%, maybe 5.2 right now, and that fluctuates because it moves with the federal interest rate. So everyone's complaining about interest rates are so high, mortgages are so high, right? But interest rates go up for mortgages, but they also go up for savings accounts. And when they go down for both. Because the bank is loaning your money out at 7-8%, right? But if you're putting it into a high yield savings account, they're paying you for 4.5% of that 7-8% that they're making on it. So first of all, your emergency savings needs to be sitting in a high yield savings account. I have one client that had about $250,000 that was just sitting in a regular bank account, and we did the math, and I'm not going to do all the math right now, but we were like, how long has it been sitting in that account? And he was like, well, it's been sitting there for like 5 years. And when we did the math about how much money he could have, it was like another like almost $14,000 that he would have had if that money was just sitting in a different account.
Yeah. So like, yeah, no, I get that.
Yeah.
My bad. We'll be looking into that ASAP. But no, I didn't know. But at least I have the common sense
Nikki,
to know. Like,
I'm not surprised, because I talk to I've talked to hundreds, I've talked to over 1,000 different artists, freelancers, creatives, and I'd say more than half of them are not aware of that.
I'm aware I'm aware that I'm not getting really interest in this savings account. Now the rest of my money is all outside of that emergency fund is all invested. But you're saying, okay, see that you're saying that I shouldn't even have that much in an account that's not getting any interest.
You should, if you have money, the only money I have sitting in an account that's not really interest is money that I need for business operations and money I need for my life. That's in checking accounts. Checking accounts don't earn interest. But if it's storage, if it's savings, if it's I don't need this money right now money, then it's earning interest money.
Well, shit. Okay, well,
you said Ally
what?
Bank. I'm like,
yeah, I like Capital One. Honestly, I feel like Capital One, if you guys hear this, you should sponsor me because I send more people your way than almost anyone. Or Ally Bank's also a pretty good one. It's just not the one that I use, but I've had a lot of people use that one and feel good about it. So that's number one. You always want your money making you money babies. If you're holding that money needs to be making you money babies that make you money babies that make you money babies.
I didn't know all my money was supposed to be making babies. I just
all
thought
your money needs to be making babies.
I just thought the extra money was making babies.
So,
Damn.
But that is, your savings is kind of, it's extra money, right? It's just sitting there. So if it's sitting there, I'd rather it sit there and start making babies with each other than, just sitting there doing nothing.
So true. It makes sense to me. All right. So with that being said, let's say you have like 3 tips that you could give to anybody listening to this right now about their finances, knowing that you are mostly speaking to also people in adjacent service industries.
So one is, I always teach people as much separation, clarification, and automation as possible. And the more finely tuned and detailed you can create a system that supports you and leaves you free to do your work, the more money you can save and manage, automatically. So I have a whole system that I call the waterfall money system, but you can start to kind of do this just on your own, and just opening up a bank account and setting an auto transfer, right? That's what we're talking about. I would say first you want to focus on taxes, living expenses, and emergency savings. That's your foundation. You need that taken off your plate and handled by your system, because that leaves you free to do a lot of other things in your life. You can't really tell kind of how much money you have to light on fire or spend on ordering takeout if your taxes, living expenses, and emergency savings are mixed in with each other or mixed in with all your money, right? So that's step one. Step two is you want to aim for a 20% savings rate, meaning if you're making $100,000 a year, you want to save $20,000 a year. And if you can do it, if you can increase it more than that, great. That's fantastic. And there's all those, I don't know if you heard of the FIRE movement. They're trying to save 30, 40, 50% of their income, but they're heavily living, beneath their means now so that they can, retire early. That's not my vibe.
That's a little extreme though.
It's just not my vibe. Yeah. I love what I do.
What about today? Yeah.
Yeah. I love what I do. So there's my camera again. All right.
It's okay. FIRE stands for what? Financial independence.
Retire early.
Retire early. Yeah.
I feel like that movement is really, the people that are in it are working normal jobs that they hate. And so they're let me live beneath my means while working a job that I hate. I don't know. It's probably not the whole FIRE community. So I'm not trying to make a blatant statement here, but it's just, I've seen some documentaries on it and it kind of seemed like that was the vibe. Not my vibe.
No, I don't want to retire. I don't want to retire early. It's nice to have the option, but
right. Yeah.
No,
I'd like that. Yeah. I want to create a life that I could live forever. That infinite game, I could just do this life forever.
I feel that right now. I feel that right now.
Me too.
Well, for the most part, I could do a little less, I think, but yeah.
So those are the two things, right? Start to build the foundation of your system, which is taxes, living expenses, and emergency savings. Lock that in place. Aim for 20% savings rate, whatever you can do. And if you're paying off debt, I'll say aim to put 20% towards debt and 10% to savings. So actually 30% of your income should be put aside, 20% to debt, 10% to savings. If that feels too aggressive, go to 15% to debt, 5% to savings. But if you aren't saving money in an emergency savings account while paying off debt, then when an emergency comes, you're going to go back to relying on the debt to handle the emergency, and you're going to stay in the vicious cycle. So you need to start to rely on a savings account versus relying on your debt when life throws you a curveball.
I like that. Yeah. I think that because it's a debt, racking up debt is a habit. I have done it also myself, like multiple times when I was in my 20s. And I've gotten myself out of it now, but I didn't every time something came up, I'm like, credit card charge. And then all of my extra money was going to interest of every single different credit card. So
yeah, I say if you're going to incur debt that bears interest, right? If you're going to do that, do not do it for anything personal, right? Don't buy a bed that incurs interest. Don't buy clothes. Don't buy video games, electronics. That is the absolute worst way to incur interest-bearing debt. Now, interest-bearing debt does have a use case. There is a time when you want to, and it is actually healthy and a good way to use interest-bearing debt, and that is when you're building or growing a business and the return on the investment of capital that you're borrowing is higher than the interest rate. So if I'm borrowing $20,000 at 18% interest over the next year, and I know that the investment in my business is going to return much higher return, and it has to be much higher. It can't be a little bit higher because then it's not worth the risk. And you have to think about the risk versus the reward. It's not worth taking on that debt for 20% return on 18% interest. Not juice ain't worth the squeeze. You want to be like, all right, I'm going to 100x my return on this debt, and I'm going to pay 18% on the debt. If you're in a position where you're knowledgeable enough, confident enough, and you have the experience to say, I can confidently borrow this money and deploy this capital in a way in my business that I have a 80 to 90% chance of seeing this kind of a return, then you're good. And even if you're going to do that, to reduce your risk even further, make sure you have funds on the side where you could knock out the debt even if you wanted to, if you had to.
When I invested in my first mentor or coach, I put it on a credit card. I had it in my account, but I ended up putting it on a credit card, and it felt safer for me at the time to do that. I was so confident that I was going to be able to use that and make at least 10 times more than what I was making. I paid it off in like literally a month. So there are certain things that can be worth it. However, for some people that wouldn't, if they're not, I don't know. I don't even want to tell everybody. It's one of those things that
it's a case by case. I can't say, I need more information. But I will say that we've worked with people that are in debt, right? 8, 9, 10, 12, 15, like tens of thousands of dollars sometimes in debt. And the only way they could work with us is they had to put it on a credit card. And I have no problem with that because I know that what we do solves that problem for people for good. And we've had people pay off the original debt they had and the debt that they borrowed to take this course within months of taking this course. Like we've had people pay off $20,000 in 6 months, and never before were they able to pay that off. We've had people save tens of thousands of dollars because once you put these systems in place, it's just a game changer for the rest of your life.
That's amazing. And likewise, there are always people who do take out loan. There are people who go into debt to work with us as well. And when they show up for themselves and put all the things into place, it always works out and they are always able to pay it off. There are like a few people where I'm like, you should not have gone into debt for this because you just retreated. You step back, you put the money on a card, and then I called you 48 times, you never answered. And now what? So you definitely have to be in that headspace. Like I'm gonna.
Yeah, you have to be hungry. You have to be willing to do whatever it takes, and then you can confidently take that action. Yeah.
Yeah, I invested also to go into my own suite. I put that all on a card. I was very confident in myself to be able to pay that off quickly, and I did. But I have that hunger in me. So like I always know that when I'm making an investment, I'm not saying that I'm never going to make a stupid choice. I will. And I have, but
Absolutely.
for the most part,
Myself included.
yeah, I know that I have it in me. Like if I'm going to invest in something like that for my business, that I'll be able to, multiply it by a lot more than the original investment and the interest.
Yeah. You have drive. Like I'm going to make this work. I'm going to make it work. I feel like that's the cool thing about like human nature and making a large investment. There are sometimes people who throw it on a credit card, like throw a program or something on a credit card and then they don't participate. And that, I'm sad for those people because that sucks, right? Like there's so much amazing information. Like they showed up for a reason in the first place. And sometimes maybe that's a habit, but the power of, I think for a lot of people making a big investment, maybe for the first time ever in their education, and then being like, I got to make this happen.
You're like, oh,
I got to
shit,
make
what
this
did I
work.
just do?
Yeah, I'm going because I'm focusing because that was the scariest thing, I've ever done. And I think that there's a lot of power in the psychology behind investing in yourself in that way,
Yeah.
I've given people in the past like free access before.
Oh yeah. I've done it.
They have never opened it.
They don't use it.
They don't use it.
They don't use
Yeah.
it.
And I'm like, you don't value this at all. Even people that were like, hey, I really want to do like one of your things. And they're like influencers or something like that. And I'm like, okay, fine. This one time I'm going to let it slide. And I don't do it anymore because they don't open it. They won't use it.
So money is whatever story you say it is, right? Because money is inherently completely empty and meaningless. It's void of meaning and value, except for the value and meaning that we give it. So I'll often have different types of definitions for money that serve different purposes in my life. And so one of the definitions that I use for myself to like look at a situation in my life is money is a tool for taking things seriously. And you can look at, you can know so much about someone by where their money goes, because that's what they're taking seriously in their life. So if your money goes into, ordering a lot of takeout and like whatever, going into short-term things, like that's what you take seriously in your life. I'm not saying that's right or wrong, good or bad, but that's what you're saying. And so when you're given a course or something that is really valuable, it doesn't be a course, it could be anything, it could be a phone, electronic or whatever. When it's given to us and we didn't have to pay for it, very often, I'm not going to say 100% of the time, but very often we don't take it seriously because we didn't pay for it. And so your money is a tool that you can use to choose what are the things I want to take seriously in my life. And so if that's your business or your personal growth or your health or relationships, like you can point your money in that direction in your life to support you in taking that area seriously.
Yeah.
I like that.
I like that too. That makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense.
And the third thing, we said there's the
we went
so rogue. Yeah,
I always
tie it all back there.
Hey,
I'm gonna tie it in. And you mentioned something. You mentioned like just the psychology of investing in money. It's like really, it's all in your mind. It's all in your mind. And I keep wanting the solutions to our money problems to exist somewhere out here only. And like, it's not just inside, it's all inside. And so I always ask people like, if you and money were in a relationship, if you and money, let's pretend you and money's a person and you're married, okay? Like for the rest of your life, how would you describe your marriage? How would you describe your relationship? And people say, oh, things get a little tense here and there and there's room for improvement. Or they're like, I hate my partner. I think they're the root of all evil and I wish they would die and go to hell. And they're like, cool. How is that a reflection of your external world? How is your relationship with money a reflection of your life? And they're just like, wow. And I'm like, do you want that relationship, given the fact that you and money are probably married till death do you part? Is that the relationship that you want to continue to have for the rest of your life? And if not, let's do some relationship counseling. Let's work on the relationship that you have with money.
Yeah, it's really
Wow.
you're wow, I've never ever thought about it that way, and it's so true because I in the past I had a really pretty unhealthy relationship with money, and guess what? I was also broke. And now I am like I have I would say we get along pretty well, and it's just healthy. There's not a over attachment or anything like that. It's just it feels like it's flowing and it continues to flow, and our relationship is great. So like that energy is there.
So I'm going to say something, and this might bother some people, but I want to say the things that I do believe you need to hear that I think will help you. And if what I'm about to say bothers anyone a little bit, like look at that and see, because there's something valuable in there. Okay, if you're broke or you're really struggling with money, and you also are resentful of or dislike people with money, particularly very wealthy people, if there's a hate or any kind of disdain for people with money, money won't exist in your life because you're so hateful of and resistant of the idea of wealth that you can't be wealthy. And so anything that even remotely resembles wealth is so repulsive to you that you are going to subconsciously self-sabotage so that you will not represent the thing that you hate.
So true.
Damn.
And that might look
Mic
like
drop.
emotionally discounting your clients.
Oh yeah, no, yeah. You were gonna say, oh, that'll be $600, but then you just say it's 300.
You're like, you
cut
know
it
what?
down.
I like this
that's
girl.
how it shows up. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. You foot the bill. You foot the bill for something that like there's no reason for you to foot the bill, or you don't accept other people's generosity because you don't want to appear greedy or selfish. Here's the thing. We're all a little bit greedy and we're all a little bit selfish, and it's okay. You actually need to give yourself permission to be the thing that you resist so much, because the reason you resist it's fine. It's good that you resist it. You don't want to be this greedy, money hungry person, but the truth is you are a little bit greedy. You're a human being, right? You're a flawed human being. So give yourself permission to be the thing that you already are, and it no longer has power over you. It no longer controls you. But avoiding being greedy is almost just as damaging as embracing being greedy, as being like this, selfish, icky person that you don't want to be. They're two sides of the same coin.
That's so interesting and true. It really is, because I've been in that headspace before where like I'll almost resist making more money out of this story, like people who have a lot more greedy, even as I was getting more successful. Like I subconsciously will block myself from making more than a certain amount that I deem an acceptable, you're not a shitty person amount. And I would say all these things like, oh, I'm like, I know that I have everything that I need. I know that. Like, I would have to like do all these disclaimers. And then I'm just like, wait a minute. We are all a little bit like, why am I not allowed to live the life that I want to live? Why am I blocking myself from that? Just because I came up with this story in my head, And once I got through that, like, I don't know, everything just starts in your head. It really does. Like we say that all the time.
All in your head.
And nobody wants to start there. That's the they're like, no, I mean,
right.
No, we're like, first we need to, I'm like, we need to go within. We need to go within here and break through some things. And they're like, I'm here for the marketing, baby. And I'm like, first this.
Because nothing can happen without this. I love that you like tied in number 3 being a mindset shift. It's inner work. It really is, because I see that same thing with just even like, the person in your life who is like, relationships suck and like I'm never gonna find love, and I have friends that are like, I hate men, they suck, but like what they want so bad is to be in a healthy relationship with a man. And I'm like, well, what's the story that you're telling yourself every single day? Okay, now what's the reflection of that in your actual life? Every man you talk to sucks, right? Because that's what you believe. It's your belief. We have internal belief systems, and reframing them are challenging, but so
the economy
important.
Sucks, and nobody will pay these prices to get their hair done. Then why are their stylists making $20K a week?
Yeah, why are we having tattooers during slow season? I don't know if hairstylists experience it, but in the winter is generally slower. We have tattooers in our course that have their busiest month of the year in the middle of the slowest season of the
Mhm.
year.
Same. We have hairstylists in ours. That,
When you
So
set
your
yourself up
story
right, there's no
about-
slow season.
Right. Your story about slow season is just that. It's just a story.
hmm
And it dictates your actions and it dictates your life.
You can break up with your story anytime. I used to have one. I'm a hot mess. I've been divorced multiple times. Like I'm never, this is just me. I'm the hot mess girl. That's me. And guess what? I was the hot mess girl until I broke up with that story. Write this shit down, you guys. Like, do something about it. Take the action and do something about it.
Find your story that isn't serving you and break up with it today. Yeah.
Where did this come from? Who told me this? Where did I learn this information? Is it still serving me? Is this story still serving me? Maybe it has at a time, right? Like maybe, Nikki, your story, you were protecting yourself, right? Like, yeah, I'm not, you were like, I'm gonna step back into my power and say like, yeah, I am the hot mess. Like I've been divorced multiple times. Like I am all of these things because you were stepping into your own power of it, like shamelessly. And it doesn't serve you anymore because it's not your story anymore. So like it served you for a little as protection. And now it's like, okay, what's the new story?
Who the fuck was that bitch? I don't know. Not me.
Another thing that I'll work with people on this stuff is that those old conversations, I almost look at them as like a newsletter. Like you subscribed to them because at some point they actually offered value to you. There was something helpful. There was actually something valuable in believing that you were a hot mess or believing that you aren't able to, wealthy people are greedy and shitty or whatever. They're at that point in life when that belief system was created, it offered some level of value to you. You wouldn't have believed it or created it if it didn't offer some value to you. And then you go through life and these belief systems don't serve you forever. And that's okay. They're not meant to serve you forever, but we subscribe to them for way longer than they're useful. And the only way I've found to kind of move on to the next one, wait, I can't just simply unsubscribe, right? I've been subscribed to, it's just going to keep coming up. So I need to listen to it. I need to be aware of it and actually like speak to like, who is that person that's saying that thing? I need them to know that I hear you. First of all, I hear what you're saying, that I'd be too greedy, I'd mess it up. If I had, $100,000, $1 million, I'd ruin it. Whatever that belief is, listen to it, acknowledge it, thank it for sharing, thank it for trying to protect you, because it really is trying to keep you connected and appreciated, and it's trying to keep you safe. And so if you just dismiss it, it feels too triggered. It feels too like, oh, you're not safe. And so you need to kind of ease into it and allow it. And I've found that over time, these old belief systems, these old voices that don't serve me, they're still there, but they're so quiet.
They're quiet.
They're not, they don't run the show. And I keep seeing them like, I see you. I see you. Hey, how's it going? Appreciate you, but you don't serve me. And this is actually the new conversation, the new story, the new narrative that I am subscribing to.
It's incredible how much, because our brains are always wired to be protecting us and keeping us safe. That's evolution. That's where we are. So most of the things that we think and do are a direct response to that. Now, I have OCD. I am, after years and years of treatment and like mindfulness therapy and cognitive behavioral therapy, here's what I have learned. When I was when my OCD was rampant, these thoughts would come in and I would attach to them and take them so seriously. And guess what? Those intrusive thoughts, what I've learned is that everybody still has those thoughts. People have intrusive thoughts all the time. You have detached meaning to them, really. Like, so over time, you're like, oh, I'm having that interesting thought again. And you don't attach to it. So it's the same thing really with the story. So now when the OCD, it never really goes away. Those thoughts still come in. It's like the power that I have given them is gone. Not so much the thoughts. And it's the same thing with the story. That still comes in. Is it loud? No, I'm not really listening. I don't give a shit. I'm not listening to it really anymore. It loses its power in time.
Meditation has really helped me with that. like to be able to put down these thoughts that they come up, and you didn't choose to think these thoughts. You weren't like, oh, I'm gonna worry about money right now. That sounds like for the whole afternoon. My schedule is cleared. I'm just gonna worry about money for the next 6 hours. You didn't do that. And so what meditation has helped me do is, like, if going to the gym is about picking up heavy things, meditation is about putting down heavy things.
Yeah.
And these heavy thoughts that come into your mind, and people say, oh, I can't meditate because I just think too many thoughts. It's like, that's the point.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to think thoughts, and then you just put them down. And then what's going to happen is they're going to come back, and then you're like, oh, there's the thought. I'm going to put it down again. Focus on my breath or my mantra, and then I'm going to put it down again. And you're just going to keep repeating that. And that's what meditation is.
We would do mindfulness exercises in my behavioral therapy where we would just watch the thoughts, like those scary thoughts float by without attaching anything to them. And it was a really powerful exercise because I'm like, wow, there's really a lot of noise in there and I'm only attaching to specific things. It's a pretty wild exercise. Also, did you know that we're breathwork babes now?
Yeah, I know. I'm like, don't even get me into meditation and breathwork. I used to use that analogy because I'm a yoga instructor as well by trade. And I used to use the analogy like, your brain's never going to be clear. It's not like people who meditate often are just like gurus of internal silence. Like that's not it. That's not why you practice meditation. It's to detach yourself, and bring your focus back to your body, really, your breath, your body, rather than the attachment to the thought of like, what am I having for dinner later? Anyway, I'm gonna be broke tomorrow. My house is going on fire. Like these random thoughts, that pop into your brain. So I like the analogy of like, envision the thought as a log floating down a river, or when you are like in the zone, maybe you're tattooing or you're at the gym or you're like really you're focused in, and someone and you're listening to music and someone taps you on the shoulder and you're like, yeah. And they're like, hey, you're at the gym. Can I use those weights after you? And you're like, yeah, sure, buddy, no worries. And you put your headphone back on, you're back in the zone. It's like that tap on the shoulder is just one of those thoughts. Give it that much attention. I hear you. Okay, cool. Back to what I was doing. Like that's meditation. It's not empty mind.
Detaching judgment from the thoughts, detaching judgment from your emotions. I think it's really powerful. I know we went into something totally different, and also that you have to get going because you have an event to go to.
But I like that we started talking about finance and then we end up talking about meditation and spirituality, because if you really look at the world's relationship with money, right? Money and spirituality are like oil and water. Like everyone just feels like, oh, I can bring spirituality into all these areas of my life, into my health and my body. I can do yoga and I can bring it into my art and I can't bring it into money. No. Spirituality and money, the divine and money don't belong together, And I think that's actually one of the reasons why there's such a big breakdown in the world's relationship with money, is because that's the one area that we feel like we can't allow our spirituality to connect with. And I think that it's actually, that's at the source.
I love it. Somehow we always end up back there and we always go rogue a little bit. But this was super valuable information. And I'm so happy that you came on. I would love you to come on anytime that you want.
Yeah.
And
I'm so stoked to come, Nikki. I love hanging out with you anytime.
I know. We got to hang out IRL soon.
Yeah. Summer's coming. Spring's coming when it gets warm.
Yeah, be outside.
It's hermit time right now.
Yeah, I'm in my best hermit vibes at the moment. But yeah, so thank you so much for being here. Where can people follow you and get more information from you?
Yeah, so first of all, I have a podcast, The Artful Dollar, on all platforms. Been barely promoting it, but it seems to be getting a pretty decent following. So go there, check it out. Please like, subscribe. On Instagram, you can find me, Ryan Roy Tattoo. Although there is a need, I'm going to be changing my Instagram name in the near future. It's one of those things that's like hard to do because you've built up this momentum. But for now, let's just say it's Ryan Roy Tattoo. You'll find me there. Because I serve people outside the tattoo industry, I've come to realize like that name doesn't encompass what my Instagram's about. So it will likely be.
You better go save it because.
Someone's going to snag it right now. Yeah. Yeah.
Stuart, cut that part out.
because it will just
Cut the
follow Ryan with
cameras.
tattoo for now, and you'll find out what it is in the future. Yeah. I think those are the best ways to follow me and get in touch and learn. And then, if you find yourself needing some more support, feel free to shoot me a DM, reach out.
Awesome.
Thanks
Thank you
for
so
being
much for
here.
being here, Ryan.
I'm
Appreciate
calling
it.
it Capital One right now to go transfer
Calling
my
Cap
money
One.
into interest.
Also, before we log out, please like and subscribe. It is what
Yes.
keeps us going. I mean, we would go without the likes and subscribes. We're not like a
it's
sponsored
honestly
podcast,
so fun,
but
yeah,
it's still, but it would be really cool if you did. Again, we're also going to drop the links for our own consulting services, extension certification, and our in-person event coming up in Denver. So we will see you all there. Thank you for listening to Slice Squad Spills. If you're enjoying the show, please subscribe, leave a rating and review on your favorite podcast platform. Your feedback is going to help us improve and attracts more listeners to the show. Please share with your fellow time slicers. And hey, if you're ready to optimize your time and double your income, we've got you covered.